So this morning I want to read from the book of Colossians 3. I finished with Job last night, but I decided to move into the New Testament because I always related a lot to the Apostle Paul and his journey, and just he just always said so many powerful things whenever he visited these churches or sent letters to these churches. Um, Everything that he said was always impactful, and impactful to the point where it is carried on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I always just think about it as how Paul was somebody that nobody would have thought that it would have been his voice or his words that it would have echoed across the bells of history, across the halls of history, I should say. So Colossians 3:12 through 15 says, "Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults, and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us together in perfect harmony, and let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful." And today, I am grateful for love. I'm grateful for the ability of forgiveness, the gift that God has allowed us to use, which is forgiveness. Um, I think I honestly, since we started this room, I've probably read this verse about 3 or 4 times. Um, and I'll still preach the same message. And for those who may not have heard when I was something that I always say is be reminded that forgiveness is not for others. It is for you. It is a gift that God has given you. At the end of the day, people do not care if you forgive them or not. Their life will go on. It may hurt. They may feel like they're missing a friend. But at the end of the day, their life will go on. But you know who will live in a life full of bitterness? When we don't forgive us. See, because forgiveness, forgiveness is something that it gives us the opportunity to forget too. We sometimes you say you forgive, but you don't forget, but you actually really do. Because when you forgive somebody, you move on. You no longer dwell on that. See, forgiveness requires you having to move on and move forward and remain focused on whatever it is that God has in front of you. When you don't forgive someone and you hold on to that, you living in your past because you still thinking about something that has already been done to you, and you dwell in there, and you sitting there, and you fill your cup with that daily, and it breeds other emotions. It breeds hate. It breeds anger, and ain't none of these coming from God. And it allows itself to fester inside you. So we always have to be reminded that when people do things to us, and if it's so bad as to like you're just so hurt about it, you don't know what to do. Remember what we do when we don't know what to do. We go to God because it's no longer our problem. But the thing about it is that you can't hold on to that problem and say you can micromanage God. You can't go to him and say, "God, I want you to take care of this for me." And then every time you see the person, you suck in your teeth and you mad and you miserable. No, you already left that one to God. So whatever it is that God can take out of it, whether or not God bring you and that person back to a friendship, whether or not God heal your heart, whether or not, because you don't ever want to think that you want God to do bad to nobody, because that ain't the purpose and that ain't what God does. He won't, you know, that's not going to happen. No matter what happens, you can't, and even if something bad does happen in it, you can't come back and look at it and say the reason that happened was because of God loving you more than them. Because God has no favorites. God has no favorites. We are all equal in his eyesight, and that's just what it is. You understand? Whatever it is that somebody else gone through, that was in their plan before they gone through something with you. So just to add that to it. But in this verse, right, something that always stood out for me was this: make allowance for each other's faults. That always stood out for me in this particular verse. Because, we aren't perfect and we're far from it, you know. And what hurts us sometimes is that we put so much into what we expect out of people, but we don't think about what God expects out of us. He made room for our faults the minute we were born, but we quick to jump on somebody else when we feel as though they ain't walking in the way that we predetermined that they should walk, or they aren't doing the things that we think that they shouldn't be doing. But at the end of the day, are we really doing what God asks us to do? Are we clothing ourselves in love every day, every moment? And that's what he said. He said, above all, clothe yourselves with love. That means on top of anything you do in life, you put love first. Anything. He say above all. Like not he didn't say above this and that, not above this or that, or he separated anything. He said above all, meaning on top of everything, you put love on top of that. Because love is what binds us all together in perfect harmony. The only reason we have the turmoil and the turbulence that goes on in a lot of these relationships with family and friends and all of these is because one set of people have love, the other set of people breeding with hate. But if we all were just binded with love, that is where it creates perfect harmony. And most importantly, and I can just close with this right there. Most importantly, the most important thing the Apostle Paul said in this was, and let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. See, with that love, and when you love people, that come with peace, that come with peace. Because at the end of the day, you love them, you did your part, you praying for them, you want what's best for them. And there's peace in that. There's peace in knowing that you did the right thing. It's peace in knowing that you made the effort. And if you ever confused about what peace is or what love is, then you just put those same words in your mind. What I told you all yesterday, remember they used to have the bracelets, and you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? What would he do? So thank you again, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. I love each and every one of you. I may the peace of Christ flow through each and every one of you today. I'm Kerry, and I relinquish my mic.